Okay, so we're going to learn about filling out an application for a job. A lot of times it seems like that's a really simple thing to do, but it's surprising how many errors students can make when doing this. First of all, when you go in to ask for an application, you should always ask for two so that you have one for a rough draft and one that can be your final copy. So when you're filling out, you need to make sure that you use your full name spelled so that they can read it, and they want a date. So you want to give them the date that you're filling it out. Make sure that you know your address and you capitalize the necessary words while you're filling it out. Many times students don't capitalize the name of their street, the name of their city, the state. All of those are things that employers are going to look at. You want to make sure that you put a telephone number. If you don't have a home phone number, you want to put NA, which you do for anything that you don't have an answer for. You don't ever want to leave anything blank. Make sure if you're putting your mobile number that you have a message that is appropriate for an employer to call and leave a message. You don't want it to be one of those, hey homeboys, it's so-and-so. So you want to make sure that it's set up appropriately to sound professional. If you've ever been referred by someone for the job, make sure you put their name, because many times they get a bonus out of referring somebody. If you don't know what position you're applying for, you can always put open. That way they know that you're available for whatever they have availability in. Your date available. If you're currently working somewhere else, you want to make sure that you give them a 2-week notice if you're planning to quit there to come work at this location. So your date available can be as soon as possible if you don't have a job already and you're just looking to get started. Otherwise, make sure that your date is 2 weeks out from where you're at. Type of employment. If you're going to school, you obviously want to do part-time. If it's for the holidays, such as this is an application for UPS, you could do seasonal because they're going to be really busy with the holidays coming and people shipping their gifts off to family. Salary desired. This is a tricky question. You could put minimum wage, or if you already know what they pay, you could put that. But if you're not sure and you know they'll at least pay minimum wage, you again can just put open, which means you're open to discussing it. If you're currently employed, you don't want to say no, because if you say no, then there's obviously a reason you're hiding from your current employer why you're leaving. If it's just an uncomfortable position for you to tell your current employer that you're looking for another job, then you could explain that in an interview if you do currently say, no, you may not contact my employer. So if you are under 18, in Colorado, you do not need a work permit if you are under 18. You need one if you are 15 or younger, and you can get those in your counseling center at your school. So answering your simple questions, do not leave any of those blank. If you leave them blank, then they think that you just skipped it and didn't see it, and then they're aware that you're not ready to look for details, and that could be a hindrance for whatever job you're looking for. Do you have any friends or relatives employed at this location? If you've got a buddy that's recommending you to work there, you have to own up to it and say yes, but do not use them as a reference. All right, have you been convicted of a crime in the last 7 years? If you are 18 and younger and it's a juvenile record and it's not sealed, you have to say yes. If it is sealed and it's not going to show in your record, then you can say no, but they will run a background check. So make sure you're honest about this, because if they do the background check and find that you were lying to them, they're not going to hire you. So educational background. obviously you don't need to put your elementary school, your middle school. You want to put your high school. So you want to put the name of your high school and the city that it's in. And if you haven't graduated, it's okay to say no. That doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just means you haven't got to the point to graduate yet. If you don't have 3 educational institutes that don't include elementary or middle school, it's okay to leave the 2 of these blank. As far as references go, you do not ever want to use a friend or a relative. So using coaches, using teachers, any past employers or coworkers, those are the people that you want to use when you are using references. Make sure that you ask the person if it's okay to use them as a reference before you put them down. All right, employment background. If you've never had a job before, you want to just put NA, which means it's not applicable, meaning you've never had a job before. If you have, make sure you fill out all of this. If your only name for your immediate supervisor is Carol and you don't know her last name, that's okay. Go ahead and just put Carol, because then when they call, they'll just ask for Carol, the manager. You want to make sure that you put down the time frame that you worked there. If you can't remember, think of the time of year, what was going on while you were there. You want to start with your most current position that you've had down to the earliest one that you had. So your very first job is going to be down here, whereas your most recent one is going to be here. After you have finished filling out everything, you've written the nicest that you can, you want to make sure that you sign it and understand that you're going to have to show proof of identity. When filling out an application, make sure that you always use black or blue ink. Don't ever use pencil. And don't white out. If you get 2 applications, like I suggested, you can use one as your rough draft, and that's where you can scribble out if you make a mistake, so that when you do the other one that is going to be your final copy, you will have it 100% exactly how you want it to look. So that's the basics for how to fill out an application. Make sure if you have any other questions that you ask your teacher or check in with me.